We have a very special film for you tonight called Heartworms. And after the film, guess what? I'm going to interview the filmmaker. So not only do you get to watch an awesome film, you get to learn about the process. Happy watching.
Greg, you're overthinking it. I just don't really want to drink on a school night. Look, Mo said it's not like that. Just like close friends chilling. I literally brag about you so much they fucking love you.
Yeah, David, nothing screams they love me like not knowing my name.
Look, just text me when you want to leave and we'll leave, okay?
Okay.
I want you to break out of this cocoon that you've wrapped yourself up in.
Oh my god, Mo! Hi, who decided to show up?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry we're late.
Just a heads up, everyone is a few drinks ahead of you guys. Can I get you guys something?
Depends what you're offering.
You have to try this wine my parents got from like Napa or something. It's like actually life altering.
I think I'm just gonna stick to water tonight.
Come on, it's like a little rude not to at least try.
Whoa, fuck Barefoot Rosé. What is this? It's Pinot Noir?
Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's like 200.
Fuck.
Greg.
Remember the one wine night you got so drunk you threw up all over your mom's?
Well, okay, let's not talk about that right now, okay?
What? Like your boyfriend hasn't seen how sloppy you get after a few drinks?
Well, this is Greggy's first wine night.
What? David, I'm getting your boyfriend drunk tonight. Wine drunk is the best drunk. Guys, this is David's little boyfriend.
Hey, everybody.
David's boyfriend.
Yeah, Greg.
Are you trashing my apartment?
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't know where to,
Oh! I'm just teasing. Hosting duty calls.
Sorry, what's your name again?
Oh, it's, Greg.
Grape?
Greg, like the guy from Succession, although, hope I'm not as pathetic as,
Oh. Sorry, I don't watch streaming services. I think they ruin the integrity of the cinema.
Greg, I see?
Trish.
Greggy! Oh my god!
Yeah, it's been like since
Freshman fucking year, I know! Oh my god, I have so much to catch you up on. Come on, come with me, we're doing shots. That last episode of Severance, bro, crazy!
Yeah, dude, Severance is like have you seen David?
I haven't seen David in a little bit, but I know 100% he's here. Oh my god, you and David are like the hottest couple ever. Oh my god, if I were a gay guy, I'd so want to be you. It's so nice that David brought you around this time. Everyone thinks he's a total man whore. And I'm always like, no. What a sweet. Oh, Greg? Are you okay?
No, I'm good. I just didn't find Dave water. David? I texted. I think we need to go home.
Shit, Greg, how much did you drink? Okay, look, I'll call you an Uber. You can get back, right?
Alone?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
But why are you staying?
I haven't seen some of these people in a while, and I'm not tired yet, so...
Oh, so you can man whore about
No.
at wine night. Yeah, that's why Mo calls me David's little boyfriend.
You are clearly drunk and people are watching us right now.
Why'd you even bring me here?
Can't keep fucking babysitting you, Greg. You hate my friends so much. Why did you even come? Should have just stayed home, rotting in your stupid little bed. Every time I drag you out, you're like a parasite.
We have Finch in the house. The film was amazing. Let's just jump into it. Hey, Finch. We just saw your awesome film. Just for the audience, just maybe introduce yourself, just so they get like a baseline of who you are and what your film is about.
Sure. I'm Finch. I'm a queer horror filmmaker, and currently I'm a film student at NYU. And my film is kind of an amalgamation of my experience here at film school, and also my experience coming from Texas and moving to New York and kind of being thrown into art school, film school kind of culture, and feeling really out of place and kind of like that social anxiety that comes with that. I came from football land, I came from pep rally and barbecue, and when I moved here, I was kind of thrown into this culture that I had always wanted to be in for so long. Like I longed to be there for so long, and then once I got there, I realized there were so many things I'd never come in contact with, like so many types of people, and it kind of threw me for a loop. I was kind of like, I just felt really out of place, didn't know what to say. Everyone would make these references to movies. I was like, I don't know what that is. And I felt like, I was like, what's going, I just was like trying to figure it out. And I felt like such a small fish in a big sea. And I think as well, coming to NYU to film school, there's so many kids that were so much like ahead of me and assured of themselves, or at least felt that way. And I came in with no film background, not to call myself out, but I never had watched the big like film bro movies. And all these people were making references, and so I would go home my freshman year and I'd be like, okay, I gotta watch this movie. They're making all these references, I don't know who that is. They'd like mention directors and I'm like, I don't know who that is. And I kind of lost myself a little bit freshman year because, you want so badly to be accepted by these people because you hold them to such a high, like they have all these attributes that you wanted, that I didn't realize in that I was kind of giving up a lot of my own personal identity, like I really like 80s campy horror films. Like I love all horror films, but like that's like my go-to, and like gory, like Evil Dead and stuff like that. And I noticed myself, like when people would ask me what my favorite films, I wouldn't mention that because I was kind of like so self-conscious about that. And I wanted to live up to this like expectation that was kind of all perceived. And I found myself in a lot of friendships where, and even in a relationship, which is what this is about, where I had lost myself to so far that I was like, these people don't know who I am and I don't know who they are, and I'm just kind of putting on face right now. And when I realized that, I tried to reach out to these friends that I thought were my friends, and they kind of, you know, put me down instead of actually like allowing me to open up. And that's kind of what this film was about.
When people don't support you in your endeavors, in your art, why do you think that is? I mean, if they're, quote, your friends, but they don't really put up, you know, like put up or shut up, like why, where do you think that comes from? Is that their insecurity, or are they jealous? Like,
I think it's definitely both. I think also there's also this kind of preconceived notion of like what is high art and what is like worth it, what's worth the effort, what's like, you know, especially here at NYU, people really like the very cinematic look and the fancy cameras and everything. And that's great. Like, there's definitely always a place for that, and I'm never going to discount that. But I like really lean into stuff that's more campy, and I even like puppets and like dark crystal and like stuff like that. And I feel like sometimes people kind of feel like, oh, like you have a like a kitsch, like you have a thing, but you're not professional. You're not serious. I think that's where it's at, especially in film school as well. People are always trying to climb that ladder, you know? They're trying to be like, who here is going to be my cinematographer? Who here is going to be like this? Who's going to be my that? And so when you're making friends, there's also that level of like networking that's underlying in some friendships. And I found myself really getting like icked out a little bit from that because I was trying to just get to know people.
yeah, I kind of like, you know, I kind of ran into a friend at a local bar, and they mentioned this old school film, and I'm stoned as fuck. I walk in, like I'm not in the mood, like I might not remember every little film that I've seen, and they're like quizzing me, and they asked me if I've seen this like obscure film, and when I said no, they're like, oh, you're a filmmaker? And it's like, you know, come on, like I kind of feel like that highbrow. Look, I love all films like you, they're very cinematic films, but there's definitely a place for these, you know, cheesy 80s slasher, horror, gore films that they're so much fun. And a lot of people, I mean, Evil Dead now is considered a great film, but people used to look down on people that love that kind of stuff. Even like with Halloween or with Friday the 13th, like, oh, that's lowbrow. Like, you know, you have to be looking at, you know, The Shining. Shining's awesome. I love it. But like, you know, or
Yeah.
some obscure French film, you know, and I love all those films, but to have to put someone down because they don't worship the same films that you worship is, it's just such an odd thing to me. Since you're now aware of that, where are you with those types of people? Like, how do you navigate through all this stuff now that you've been around for a little bit in New York?
Yeah, well, after I got my footing and I kind of, you know, learned to make friendships, because it was these people, but at the same time, it was also myself. Like, I was so insecure, I was hiding all of these things that I liked. And so there's also like, it's not technically all their fault, you know, I was in a way kind of lying to them. I was putting on a face, I was putting on a facade. And the second I was like, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to make friends the way that I've always known to make friends. I'm going to start working on these people's projects because I love these people and I believe in what they're making. And the second I did that, I started to find people who really resonated me in the same way. And these people have completely different interests. They like completely different things from me. But because we both just have a passion for it, like that's what I love about film, is just everyone has a passion. And when you love that thing so much and you just respect each other, because it's like you both just have a love for the art, like for the process.
The tension in the film, the awkwardness, I thought was really well done. That's not easy as a director. Talk to me about that process, how you're directing everyone through to make it authentically awkward.
I like to take, when I go to parties, I like to take notice of like things that are happening socially. And I've been that person where you make a joke and everyone's like quiet, or when you're stoned, I don't know, this happens to me sometimes. I'm stoned, I'm like overthinking everything. And I was trying to be like, that's kind of what I told everyone. I was like, this is like when you're stoned and you think everyone is looking at you. Social anxiety is like different for everybody, but that experience of like anxiety in a room, feeling like the odd one out, I feel like is pretty universal.
Were there other things in this film that were challenging, or maybe it was a lot easier than you thought? Maybe there was because you're dealing with, you said that a lot of these people were your friends. I mean, they may not be an official actor. Was that challenging at all, or maybe easier than you thought?
The reason why I went with non-actors, and there are a few actors in there from like backstage, but the main actor is actually just a really close friend of mine. He's an English major. And honestly, this sounds terrible, but my main thing was I just needed someone who was going to be okay with me putting worms all over them, which is a little bit hard to come by. And I'd say the hardest thing logistically was the worms, because no one wants worms in their apartment, which is fair. That's fair. But it made finding a location so hard. Like, I would send them the script. They'd be like, okay, this is awesome. And I'd have to be like, yeah, so I'm using real worms. And then they'd be like, okay, maybe this isn't the best for us. And then so that was really difficult. And I didn't have an apartment to shoot in.
How many places did you have to go through to find the final place?
So many, and so many different avenues, because at first I was kind of like, I'll go through a regular avenue, find somewhere where people just shoot all the time. None of them wanted worms in there, that makes sense. And then I was like, all right, so I'll try to ask people and ask friends. And I started asking friends, and they would say yes, but then their roommate would say no.
Oh, okay.
Or their building manager would say no. And actually, I wasn't supposed to be filming in that hallway in the first scene. But we kind of shotgunned that and run and gunned that, because we were like, it's 2 shots, we got this, And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes.
That's amazing, because that scene does not feel rushed at all. How did you have a time limit? How do you direct actors that may not be actors in a time crunch situation, and yet there was no rush in their acting?
I just a lot of rehearsal. On the actual shoot day, I get really lost in the logistics of the lighting and the camera, that I try to make sure in rehearsal prior to, I've really dealt with some of the acting kinks. And so on set, it's more butterflies for them that are more the problem. And I'm take a deep breath, remember what we talked about before. It's kind of I'll reference the notes I already gave them. And it was a lot of Zoom calls at first, because the main villain, or his boyfriend, is an actor from backstage. So they had just met, so the first rehearsal was them getting to meet, getting a little chemistry going, and then the next few were talking about each scene. Because the other thing about it as well is it's acting with the anxiety, regular acting with the talking about anxiety and talking about that, and then there's also the bug transformation. And we had to talk about the physicality acting of that, and the throwing up and the transforming and the ripping of the shirt and all of that stuff was a whole different can of worms.
Was it hard to build or facilitate a place where the actors could feel connected?
For me, I kind of think of it as I'm a couples counselor or something like that, and I'm guys, let's be best friends. I kind of let them, when we came into our first rehearsal, I actually just let them get to know each other. And we didn't even, we did a few read-throughs, but then after, we just kind of got to know all of each other, and some of our background, why Timothy was doing the film, why everyone was doing the film. And that was just really nice, because if you're gonna work with someone, it's just nice to have that rapport. Also, once I know a little bit of the background, I can take things from like situations, especially with my friend who's a non-actor. I could reference like certain situations where I would want that emotion that came from that situation. So I could be like, hey, remember that feeling of like when you're in middle school and you're going to your first school dance? And like that's kind of how I would go about directing that.
Building chemistry is not easy, and the fact that you kind of let it happen, I think is such a pro move, because sometimes people try to force it and you can't, and just kind of like taking like a back seat and letting people kind of getting to know each other. I know it sounds simple, but it's not. I mean, because we've all seen films where the chemistry just isn't there.
Yeah.
And these people are getting paid lots of money. It's like, how do you not have chemistry? And it's like,
yeah.
So it's definitely not easy. How was it for you to have your actors in rehearsal act out your script? Was it at all shocking at all? Did you learn anything? Did they go in a direction that you may not have seen, but maybe that was a better choice?
I think the hardest thing was it's a very physical script. Like a lot of things happen where the dialogue is prompted by this or the dialogue is prompted by that. In a table reading, it's really hard to get that like specific reaction out of it, because it's like, so we had to actually stand up and do some like physicality just like with nothing. And with that, I find it's really hard to write awkward dialogue sometimes, because you want it to feel naturally awkward, but you don't want to make it feel like synthetic or like a joke. And I was trying to kind of like mix it up, because it is campy, it is lighthearted. And there's definitely things that people said in that film that have been said to me, and I just kind of heightened them up. I just kind of made them a little bit worse, because they're all kind of like just caricatures of like people I've actually met. I think when I heard my actors actually reading the dialogue is when I actually had to change some of the dialogue and be like, okay, this line doesn't, it's almost there, but it's not actually really conveying what I'm trying to say.
Was there ever a time when you felt like maybe there wasn't a scene working even after when you rehearsed it, and maybe you're on set, you're like, okay, this isn't, even though I told the actors to go in this direction, it's not working? Like sometimes, when you have the table read, then you do the rehearsals, and then when you're actually on set, sometimes then and only then you realize, oh wait, maybe this needs to be tweaked.
For the most part, it was actually some of it happened in the edit. Like because like I said, when I'm on set, I have such a hard time locking into the performance, which is, I'm still learning, this is like my first biggest film that I've made. But there was one performance thing that changed the most, which was I had my AD flirt with the main actor in the background when Greg is like taking shots and he looks over and his boyfriend's like getting flirted with by somebody, and that was my assistant director, because I just needed that extra like pressure on him. And so I just was like, and my assistant director was my friend from home, and I was like, can you just go flirt with him, and like it's chill. And so that was like something we added on set.
Talk to me about the editing process. Talk to me about the editing process.
It was actually really hard because I lost some footage, and my heart like died when I realized I had lost some footage. So I had to do some pickups, and that already set my mindset up when I started editing. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be awful, and so it went through a really long ugly phase, and and they always do, they always go through this phase where you're like, it's not coming together like I thought it was, I didn't give all the coverage I wanted, the shot isn't like cutting the way I wanted it to. And there was a really long period of that. And then I remember I showed, I think like the fourth cut to my friends finally, and they were like, this is like they got really excited. And I showed it to my teacher, and they were like, I can't believe you pulled that off. And after that, I had like reinvigorated my, like almost my creativity. And I went back in and I added a bunch of stuff with the sound design mainly.
Yeah, the sound design is amazing. I wanted to ask you about that. It is really, because it's subtle when it's subtle, and it builds up towards the, Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to learn more about that.
The sound design was I was thinking about the sound design when I was writing the script. I was really excited about the sound design because I did the sound design myself, and I was like, this is going to make this film because gore is I love to do gore in my film, and I feel like gore comes out so much in the sounds. Like the sounds are you see it visually, but the sounds of the gore are really what makes you irk and scream. And those bug sounds and the squishing and the worms and all of that, I really wanted to and the throw up and the gagging, all of that, I really wanted to get in there. And I also wanted to, I used another friend who did my music for me, and I wanted to incorporate the music into the sound design too. I really wanted it to be one singular thing.
Yeah, that's something that I think a good horror film sound design is so important. I think unfortunately a lot of filmmakers don't think that it is, and they don't really play it up. But I think you did such a beautiful job with it. I mean, that was one of the first things that I really took note of.
Thank you.
I mean, I thought the acting was really great, so maybe that was the first thing. And it just was there's a cheese factor to this. But when Greg's getting yelled at by his boyfriend, I mean, that goes dark.
Can't keep fucking babysitting you, Greg.
Building that tension, there's a lot of elements that have to fall into play. Not just the script, not just the acting, but the shot selection, the editing, the light. I mean, I'm sure listeners would love to just kind of learn about that process as a writer and a director.
Yeah. So the writing aspect was more, that part of this film is where it's all in his head. This is what he thinks his boyfriend is thinking. And I think in real life, maybe that confrontation would have never happened. But I think when you have social anxiety and you fuck up, it's you're gonna overthink everything that happened. And that was really what I was trying to get at, is that feeling of spiraling and overthinking and and in the filming, the tension got really tight because where we were shooting was really small, and to get the shot because of the aspect ratio, my actors had to stand literally face to face.
How many days did you shoot for?
Only for 2. So only for 2, just a weekend.
Yeah, and the lighting, obviously there's a lot of lighting changes, greens and reds. I'm assuming that was practical lighting and you just heightened it up in post. Am I correct with that, or? Okay.
Yeah. It was very much so inspired by Suspiria, the original Suspiria, and I love fun lighting, and it's all in his head too. It's a party, so I had the excuse to just be let's just go at it. Let's just get intense. It's fun.
Was there you're talking about bringing worms into someone's apartment? How big was the container of worms, and where do you go to get worms?
So you can actually order them off of Amazon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they come in a sack. They come in a sack filled with dirt, and then in the dirt is a bunch of worms. And I actually had them in my dorm for a whole week before I shot, and I had to keep them in my fridge.
The whole big sack of worms in your fridge?
Yeah, they just kind of hang out in there. And, they're worms, so it's if I was using any other bugs, I feel, more offensive bugs, some would say, maggots or something like that. I was what am I going to do with all of these worms now that I just have all these worms? We didn't even use all of them, and we would just put them back in the sack. And so now I just have this sack of worms. So, I put them in, there's a composting place in New York that I found that you can give compost to. So I made a compost bin, I put them in there and gave them away.
They got a good life. I have a worm story for you. So I went to School of Visual Arts, and there was one day, and I lived in Long Island at the time, and as I'm coming into the city and going towards SVA, there was a promotion for this video game, and the main character was a worm. So they had this a portable deli with a major hot plate, and they were cooking worms and making worm sandwiches and giving them out so you can eat a worm sandwich. So you know, so when I saw your film, I immediately just went to that because it was such a, and you can smell the worms frying on the thing, and it was the most
Oh.
disgusting. And there was a guy there. I don't know if he was part of the act or not, but he got a worm sandwich and he took a bite and he's eating it, and I like, it was,
Oh.
yeah. So like, worms,
Yeah.
you know, but do worms do they just eat dirt like, or do you have to feed a worm, right? Or I've
At
not.
least, I mean, I don't really know either. I unfortunately am not much of a worm expert. And I had a bunch of fake worms too. But the fake worms just didn't live up, you know. They weren't as good. Like the real worms just added so much. And I'm not very squeamish. Some of my crew were having a little bit of a hard time.
Really?
Especially when I brought them out and we were like putting them on the camera, you know, and we have like Video Village and people were watching it and they were like, no.
Yeah.
But I love that when people have that reaction to like my film, I get really excited. And so when they were doing that, I was like, yes, that's what I want. Worms they're slimy, but they're kind of cute. I mean, I don't know if they're cute. They're just kind of like there. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not like a cockroach or something. They're just,
Right, exactly.
and they're not gonna. They can't like run fast. It's not like if you drop a worm, it's like, oh wait, where'd the worm go? It's like it's right.
Yeah.
There. It didn't.
And it can't bite you, like,
Yeah, it's just like a stupid little thing. It's just that.
Yeah.
With this film, did you submit to like a bunch of festivals? How was that run like?
I've submitted it to a few. I submitted it to the Trauma Festival, so I'm waiting to hear back on that. But I also, like, this film to me was just important because I've made one film, or I've made a few films prior to this, but this was kind of the biggest scale one I made. And so the festival aspect of it, I was thinking about, especially because what's really important to me is kind of like bringing queer people into spaces. And queer people have kind of always been in horror movies. Is like, that's kind of where I feel like you started to see them in film. But like, that's, along with horror that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to have just more queer people in films. And so I thought a little bit about that when I was submitting to some festivals. But I think the horror aspect of it, definitely some festivals were not in love with that part. And I didn't get into a few of the queer only festivals. But like, no harm, no foul.
It's tough to navigate, and I did a film called Don't Litter in Prospect Park, and I didn't get into like any festival. I got into like 2 or 3, and it was so hard for me to get local press. I only got one article from Patch, but all the local Brooklyn papers didn't pick me up, and you're just like, what the fuck, I mean, sometimes you feel like you fit this box of what they need. And when they don't jump on board, it's kind of like a shock. But the fact that you made this film, I mean, it's so fun to watch. How do you use cannabis to enhance your art? Do you get stoned when you write? What other ways are you using cannabis to kind of dive into your creativity?
For me, it's just a way, when I'm stuck editing, when I'm stuck writing, I need to get a new perspective. And that's kind of what I do to get that new perspective when I feel a little bit like really in my head about something like the logistics, or, this character isn't feeling like how I want it to feel. And you just need that like new light on it. Or just to feel like it kind of takes the pressure off of the whole thing too. I also think too, I watched, one of the best feelings in the world was like, after working on this, I took a few months off, and then I showed it, like the finished cut, to to a bunch of my friends and the main actor. We all got high to watch it, and it was the first time I watched it high, and I was like, wow. That's when I really liked it. I was like, wow, okay.
Wow. How cool is that? So you get to watch an awesome film, and then you get to learn about that film by the filmmaker.